This always cuts off my head. I made it. I made it. Hello, welcome. Welcome, one and all. I made it. I finally made it in. Hey, FC. FC. Can you hear me, Ayana? I can hear you. Okay. I'll get my charger. Thing always makes me look like I have no head. I have a head, I swear. I swear it. Alrighty. Hope everybody's doing good. It's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I'm trying to catch up. Welcome in, people. Good people. I see people coming on in. Yay. Hey, Nookie. Nookie. Welcome to our vote counts. Miss Nikki is here. Let me get these. Here I am. Okay. If you all are coming in, remember to send your daily heart me to OVC. We appreciate it. Also, share the live with all of your followers and friends. Press down on the prompt that says Town Hall, and a list of your followers will come up. And just go down the line. Share, share, share. Share out the live. You can repost it. You can post it to your stories. You can call someone on the phone, text them. If you're in the state of Illinois, we're featuring a candidate for the State House of Illinois. So if you're in the state of Illinois, this one is especially for you. But also if you're in the surrounding states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana as well. Because what happens in those surrounding states, certainly they all affect each other. So yeah, they all share bodies of water and environments and industries. And so come on in, like the live, tap on the screen. Let's get our likes up. Let's get our shares up. And it's me here and Sianca. Say hello, Sianca. Hi. I'm getting my goggles ready. Your goggles? Yeah, because he's environmentalist. I love people who are. I put my goggles on. So. My goggles on here. Fantastic. Are those really eyeglasses? Yes, they are. Oh, I like that. They kind of match the background. That's cute. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Patrick is here. He loves it. Yay. Patrick, we're going to send you, we can't send you an invitation. Patrick, is your account private, Patrick? Oh, he's been invited.
Okay.
I couldn't see it because somebody had already invited him. That's
Oh.
see, the people are steps ahead of us.
They be
Steps. I
on
love
it.
it.
They
I
be
love
on
it.
it. They be on it.
Patrick, come on up. You got the invitation to come up. Hey, Kalita. Where do you see the invitation?
Kalita!
Patrick, are you on a laptop or your phone? If you're on a laptop, you're not going to see it.
Yeah. Hey, Darrell.
If you're on, see it as soon as it pops up.
Yeah. Oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Hey, Darrell Tonio.
Yeah.
Miss Trish.
Miss Trish in the house.
Miss Trish is in the house.
Ew, ew.
There you are, Patrick.
Hello, hello.
Patrick.
Hello.
Now let's see if we can share our video. Oh, look at that. Okay.
What's up, Patrick?
Hey.
Hello. Oh, I see you got your flyers on the wall there. Okay.
He's doing a dang on thing.
Listen, I was reading about you, Patrick. You are leading the pack in fundraising. You are ahead of everyone. So when is the primary?
So I am running for the Illinois State Senate, and our primary is on St. Patrick's Day on March 17th.
Oh, wow. So people are already going to be out. They're going to be out. Right. They may as well, walk or teeter to the polls.
Vote by mail. Yes.
Early
yes.
February in Illinois. So we give folks plenty of time to cast their ballots.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So starting, you had to start pretty early with the fundraising and the promoting, and I can't believe that the primaries are coming up. The early voting is going to be starting soon. It's exciting. I'm excited. Right. Are you excited, Patrick?
I'm so excited.
I am
so excited.
And Ayana, if I can be a cornball just a little bit.
Sure.
His name is Patrick, and the primaries is when? St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, dear God.
That's got to count for something.
Okay. You're right. That was cornball. But I love it. I love it.
He loves
yes,
it.
I do have the green hat. We'll get to that, the real Tonio.
So, Patrick, we're going to go ahead and get started because we only have you for an hour. We usually do an hour and a half, but we only have you for an hour. So we're going to get started right away. We're welcoming people in. Everyone, when you come in, remember to, for the sake of OVC, send your daily heart me and share out the live to all of your followers. Patrick, have you shared the live?
I believe so.
Okay. Just share it to as many people as possible. We want all the people to come in and hear your platform.
Me too.
Yes, we want them to see your lovely face and hear your platform. So people, when you come in, daily heart me, like the live. We want to get on the FYP and stay on the FYP so that we can get more people in here to hear the message about voting and about candidates who are running for office, but mostly grassroots candidates. This type of platform, this information is very important for them. They're running on their own dime, most of them. So we want to get as many people in here to support their candidacy and their platform. Patrick is in Illinois. He's running for the Illinois State Senate, District 9. So everyone come on in. I'm Ayana, and here with me today is Sianca. We are not moderator and co-moderator. We are doing this together. We are in this together. So, hey everyone, welcome to Our Vote Counts TikTok. I have not had my coffee today. Live town hall. Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. And now that last week's election is over with, people can now go and check and see if they are registered. Make sure you're registered. Early voting in some states starts, as Patrick said, for Illinois, starts in February. That's very little time. So make sure you are registered and everything is good to go. Today we are joined by Patrick Hanley. It's Hanley, right?
You got it.
Okay, Hanley, who's a candidate for Illinois State Senate District 9. We'll be talking about his background, his vision for the district and the state of Illinois, and taking your questions live. Remember, if you have questions, you are allowed to put them in the chat and we can read them off for Patrick, or you can select the multi-guest and you can come up and voice your opinion all on your own. So, a little bit about Patrick. Patrick is a small business owner, an organizer and environmental leader who was born in Evanston, Illinois, and raised in Northbrook and Glenview. He serves as president of the New Trier Democrats. Is that correct?
New Trier
Democrats, and co-founded Operation Swing State, mobilizing 10,000 and more Illinois volunteers to knock on 250,000 doors. That's a lot of doors in Michigan and Wisconsin. He believes state government is more crucial than ever in providing essential services and protection to residents right now. Patrick, for those who are meeting you for the first time, please fill us in on more of your background.
Ayana, Sianca, thank you so much for having me on this morning. It is so good to be on with you, and thank you for doing this. I mean, I think as Democrats approach 2026 and 28, we need to use all of the tools and platforms that we have online and offline to reach people, to raise awareness about democracy, about our votes, about our candidates, and to give folks the opportunity to interact directly with candidates. It's so important, and I'm just so grateful to you for making the space. Yeah, as you mentioned, I was born in the district. I grew up in the district. I live in the district, and I am an organizer. I'm a small business owner, and I'm an environmentalist. And I think that diversity of experiences positions me well to join what I hope to be the next generation of Democratic leadership. I think if the elections last week taught us anything, and if the vote taken the other day taught us anything, it's that Democrats are furious with the way things have been done in this party, in the governments, both at the federal and the state level. And folks are looking for something new. There is a sense that there is an older Democratic Party that just can't get it done and that consistently folds to an increasingly authoritarian Republican Party. And there's a sense that there is a young, dynamic, and exciting Democratic Party that is waiting to be born. And I'm hoping to join that latter camp. So real briefly, I grew up in this kind of lovely, idyllic, frankly, very white suburb north of Chicago. And I have 3 siblings, and we grew up with great public schools, great public parks, safe streets, and everything was from a 90s movie. And then my dad passed away when I was 9 years old. And my mom raised the 4 of us with no other income. She raised us on Social Security and a widow and his pension because of scholarships, because of community support, because of community pitching in and helping raise us. We were okay. There was a personal tragedy, but each of my siblings went on to have the lives and the careers that I think we are, that we wanted. And when I meet folks from outside of Northbrook, and when I meet folks from different parts of the district, it is so clear to me that the generosity that was shown my family is not true for everybody's family. And that basic injustice, that basic disparity between what happens in affluent white suburbs and outside of them, and in communities with means and communities without, that is what drives me to be a progressive Democrat, because that is totally unacceptable in 2025. And I love this cowboy hat. So that's kind of what drives me. I went off to school in Washington, D.C., knowing that I wanted to do something around public service. I ended up working in the U.S. Senate for a little bit and learned that they got absolutely nothing done. I worked in the Department of Justice for a little bit and learned that I didn't want to be a lawyer. And then after some time, I worked on the Obama campaign which was this incredible eye-opening experience about what organizing can do to bring communities together around shared purpose and action. And the organizing that we did resulted in community groups that are still active today, advocating around minimum wage, sick leave, and progressive policies that we all share and care about. I had a little interlude where I went off to Asia Pacific for a few years. I was in my 20s. Don't hold it against me. It was a really interesting, fascinating, fun time. And I was working with businesses abroad. But then I saw Donald Trump come down that golden escalator in 2015, like so many of us did. And I knew that we were headed towards a collision course with destiny. And so I wanted to get back home. I wanted to get back towards government and public service. And I did that by way of the University of Chicago. So I did my master's in public policy and my MBA at U Chicago, in large part to learn how do firms think about creating value and creating jobs, and also how governments regulate firms to make sure that they aren't getting too greedy and to make sure that we are creating good, decent jobs that are building a middle class rather than just extracting value from people. So as soon as I came back and started my graduate degrees, I got organizing again. So I knocked doors and made phone calls and organized people around social justice issues back in Northbrook. If you know anything about the geography of Chicago, that means I was living in Hyde Park and I was driving up 294 to Northbrook, which is about 40 minutes on a good day and about 2 hours on a bad day. But I was doing that just about every weekend, organizing. And for the last 8 years, I've kind of kept up that work, building the local Democratic parties, organizing around policies and values that we care deeply about. More recently, that means that I have been extremely involved around rapid response and supporting migrants and pushing back against ICE. And this is something that I'm sure we can talk about more as the interview goes on, because that's been the last 6 weeks. But I'll just quickly wrap up by saying, since graduating with my MBA, I worked in management consulting and I advised state governments during COVID-19. So we'd go into the governor's office and figure out how to do all these unprecedented things that states were asked to do during the pandemic. And that gave me this firsthand view of how government can work and also how it fails. And so that was really, really insightful. And then this most recent part of my life came totally randomly because I fell in love with an amazing woman who happens to be an absolute genius entrepreneur. And 9 years ago, in her mom's garden shed, she started selling duvet covers. And that turned into a business. And the silver lining of the global catastrophe that was COVID-19 was we sold a lot of bedding. And I was able to help her raise a little bit of money from a venture capital firm. I left consulting and I joined her full time to help her grow her business. And we grew from about a dozen people in a warehouse in Northbrook to more than 100 employees in 3 brick and mortar stores. So that's been the family business for the last 2 years. If you're in the market for some holiday presents, bedding, sheets, we also launched a brand new skincare line, which is super exciting. Go to pigletinbed.com, Piglet in Bed. You won't be disappointed. And that freed me up to get more involved politically. And so as you mentioned, last year, all of us were looking ahead to a presidential election that we were not looking forward to. If the president was going to be on the ballot, we knew that was going to be really tough because, he was very old, is very old. And as we saw, even given the switcheroo, conditions were such that voters were ready to vote for the former president, which is heartbreaking. So we knew it was going to be really tough. We knew that we couldn't leave any votes on the field. And so a few of us got together in February and we created something called Operation Swing State. And Operation Swing State got all the Democratic parties, all the labor organizations and progressive groups in the Chicagoland area to actually work together for just about the first time. And we mobilized volunteers to go knock doors in Michigan and in Wisconsin. And while I know it didn't work out at the top of the ticket, the swing in Wisconsin was the smallest swing to the right of any state in the country. And that's because of the thousands and thousands of people that went out, talked to their neighbors, got involved and mobilized. So I'm really proud of that effort. So now I am running for the state Senate to join this new generation of Democratic leadership. And I apologize for going on for so long.
No, it's okay. I said, before you got on, I was talking to Sianca and I said, okay, we never know if the candidate is going to talk a lot or a little. So we just have to be ready for anything. We have to be
Yeah.
ready for anything. But thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. There were questions in the chat about, you have kids, right? You have 2 kids?
Yeah. We
Oh,
have 2 baby boys. We have a 2-year-old, two and change, and we have a 9-month-old. So we have two little guys who are not far enough apart in age. It is a lot of
that's so
fun.
sweet.
I love
Aw.
it.
Okay, Patrick, before we dig deep into your platform, we have an icebreaker.
Great.
Now, I wrote one down and then I went to bed and I was like, is that exciting enough? I think it's exciting. I think we can get something out of this. Okay, I've asked this before, but if Illinois was a music playlist, what 3 songs would be on your playlist and why?
Oh my gosh. That is a
That's a
great
great
question.
question.
So I don't know how many of you have been watching The Bear, but
Yes.
that has become something of, that show has captured something about Chicago that we're all very proud of out of here. And one of the most emotional kind of montages in the show, they play Sufjan Stevens' Chicago on acoustic. And that is just gorgeous. And so that's got to be on there somewhere. I think, we are the city of broad shoulders and solidarity. And so you need some union hits. We'll get some Joan Baez on there, some Pete Seeger on that playlist for sure. And then, gosh, what else?
Okay, Joan Baez. I thought you would have said Bruce Springsteen, but okay. Okay.
Listen. Springsteen has his place in New Jersey, and we love him and appreciate him in Chicago. I'm just kidding. And then I think you need some jazz. I think you got to get some jazz. We were one of the places where jazz kind of flourished and developed, and still is. If you go down to some of the clubs in the city, you go to Kingston Mines. Yeah, so I think it'd be something in that world.
Okay. Good.
Eclectic.
I like that. I like that. That's a good mix. Okay, Sianca, over to you for questions about economic development and jobs.
Yay! All right, nice to meet you, Patrick. So this is one of my concerning categories. So prices are very high across housing, groceries, childcare, elder health care, and utilities, and all those great stuff. What is your most urgent proposal to help working class and middle class families manage these costs?
Yeah. This is vitally important, and I don't know if I have one on me, but on my little literature and on my mailers, the number one thing we talk about is affordability. And affordability is on top of everyone's mind. Affordability is killing our wallets. Affordability is killing our bank accounts. Housing is too expensive. Electric rates in Illinois, and I'm sure in other places as well, are way too high. And as a father of 2 young kids, I pay more for daycare than I do for our mortgage. The price of daycare is extremely high, and it's keeping a lot of parents out of the workforce and making folks make tough decisions about the future of their career and what to do at home, let alone the cost of formula, which I've got a kid who has an allergy, an early allergy to dairy. And so we've got to buy formula that is like wildly expensive, like eye-wateringly expensive. So affordability is the North Star of, I think, what Democrats have to do in terms of policy, but that is going to show up in different ways. And when I think about some places where the market has completely failed, like daycare, so the market is paying daycare workers too little, not allowing them to unionize and organize, and it's also costing clients and parents too much. So from my perspective, that is a market failure. And that is a place where I think the government ought to step in and provide public daycare, or at least figure out a way to fund daycare in part or in whole. Keep standards high, bring more people into the profession, make sure that there's a training pipeline, pay people with dignity, make sure that the folks who are taking care of our most precious members of our society are being treated with respect and with dignity and being paid properly. So a universal daycare plan is something that I would support. Now, this is extremely expensive, and we got to figure out a way to fund it, but I'm sure we'll get onto the revenue side of this later in the conversation. I'm open to that. So there's some places where the market fails, where the government's got to step in, like daycare, like healthcare, frankly, like education. And we've always had public education, and we've known that the market is not going to provide education. So we should be comfortable with that. But there's other places where competition and the market is actually going to bring prices down and bring quality up. And so there's other places where I want to make it easier for people to incorporate businesses. I want to make it easier for businesses to cut through red tape and just get, sell the stuff that they have. As a small business owner, I deal with countless forms that have to be faxed and notarized in offices I've got to go visit, especially in a place like Illinois, where a lot of these agencies are run out of both Chicago and Springfield. And it is just way too confusing and way too complicated. So we need to make doing business easier for folks, because that's going to cause more businesses to enter the marketplace and bring prices down for consumers. And in places where the market has failed, the government needs to step in and provide basic public goods.
You know what? You didn't answer all three of my questions. I need for you, but I would love for you.
Ask him how he's going to pay for it.
I know.
Yeah.
I want you to elaborate more, since you did delve into my next question, which is, how would you ensure small businesses and startups have access to resources and incentives to grow local jobs in your district?
Absolutely. And this comes in a couple different ways. One of the things, as a small business owner, it's not necessarily that we need a grant from the government. What we need is help navigating the government, because the government's so damn complicated. And so any sort of technical assistance or constituent services that either the Economic Development Agency in Illinois can provide, EDC, or that, offices like our state senators or state reps can help business owners navigate county, municipal, state policy, as well as, like federal incentives, if they still exist, God knows. So helping deal with government, I think, is a big one. I think we also need legislators to take a really close look at the laws that we are passing and make sure that it is easy for agencies to implement. Because oftentimes legislators will have a really nice idea and they'll pass a law with a bunch of ornaments and bells and whistles. And when it gets down to implementation and it gets down to the department or the agency or the bureaucrat that is trying to, do this program that the legislature in its wisdom created, they find that it is almost impossible to create that paperwork or to get the information that they need or to store the information in a way that's put out in the law. So you need legislators that are really empathizing with mom and pop small business owners to try and cut down on the amount of work that we force businesses to do. And now, again, these are privileged problems. My district is diverse socioeconomically, but it is also a bit affluent. And so a lot of the small businesses up here aren't necessarily in need of direct economic assistance, but they do need help navigating government. Elsewhere in Illinois, we do need grants. We need low interest loans to help folks get on that ladder of wealth creation, which is so important, especially in disenfranchised and disinvested communities where folks need a hand up. And I think there's a role for the state and for county government to play there. That is one thing that I would say Cook County has done pretty well. There are small business support grants and incentives, especially around groceries and retailers that have helped folks get off the ground.
Wow, that's awesome. And I haven't even thought of that. We're navigating through the government, because the government's like a maze that never ends, and so many blockades here and there. So thank you for elaborating on that. I'm going to turn it back to Miss Ayana in healthcare, which I'm so jealous that you get to ask him that. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sianca.
No, you're good. I'm just joking.
So we did have a question about, it says, so how do you feel about the Trump administration and his record on civil rights laws? I guess we can squeeze that in here. What what's your opinion on that? I guess that would be about what particular civil rights, I don't know, they're speaking about. Maybe
But due process.
due process. Yes.
Yeah. Short answer to a good question. Not good. Not very good at all. Chicago and Portland, but Chicago has been ground zero for the Trump administration's extremely aggressive immigration enforcement operations for the last 6 weeks. They have literally occupied our city and our suburbs, including the suburbs that I'm running to represent. I don't know if you saw news articles about what happened on Halloween in Evanston,
Yeah.
but Greg Bovino, the guy who runs Customs and Border Patrol, and his, gang of CBP, over-militarized, over-caffeinated CBP officers terrorized a suburb outside of an elementary school. There were agents knocking on windows of the school, staring at kids and targeting parents. A few days later, agents chased a woman into a daycare in the city, dragged her out of the daycare, and detained her in front of babies and parents. The level of aggression and the lack of due process and the lack of transparency and accountability, it's unconstitutional, it's unacceptable. And look, we've been on the front lines of this, but they are going to other cities. We just heard word that Bovino is leaving Chicago. Thank God. Turns out ICE couldn't handle the cold. And they're going, I think, to Charlotte next. I don't quote me on this. I don't want to break any news, but that's what I've heard, is that he's going to a southern city next. And look, if you guys live outside of Chicago, you live outside of Illinois, I want you to be ready. This is serious. The number of U.S. citizens that have been beaten up and detained in this black site facility in Broadview would break your heart. The number of folks who have been detained that were legal immigrants with papers, who just didn't have their papers on them at the time, is unimaginable. And what happens is people get picked up, they get taken to this Broadview facility, and their lawyers aren't allowed in, their families aren't allowed in, they're not allowed to make phone calls, and so they're just stuck sleeping on concrete next to overflowing toilets for a day and a half before they can prove that they're here legally. And if that doesn't make your stomach churn and your blood curdle, I don't know what will. This is just unacceptable. And not only is it evil in practice, as somebody who wants to practice policy and government, it's incompetent. They're terrible at this. They are pulling a dragnet through our communities. They are targeting Hispanic and black and brown folks. They are picking them up to meet quotas to impress a president who, by the way, doesn't care about civil rights. So I'm sorry if that was
No, that's
came
fine.
off a little too harsh.
That's a comprehensive answer. I appreciate that. I agree. I agree with you. And it's like some people have said in the comments, it's heartbreaking. It absolutely, it makes you think, if people immigrating into the country are not safe, are people who are living here, citizens who have been here forever, are we safe? And that's something you have to think about.
Can I quickly tell you the good side of all this?
Sure.
There is a little bit of a silver lining, a little bit.
Okay.
And that would be, I have never seen our community get so organized as we have in the last 2 months. And look, I've led Operation Swing State. I've led a local Democratic Party before. I've been through elections before. I have never seen the amount of talent and compassion and charity and donations and care pour out from this community into these individuals. So our entire suburban infrastructure is now covered in rapid response responders, folks with whistles, folks with know your rights information that are jumping out of their house, getting in the car and driving to the scene to try and help folks that are being attacked or detained. So we are thoroughly organized over here in the 9th District and in Chicago. And that has been really inspiring. So in the darkest night, there is the light of community that is guiding us through.
And you do wonder who you're going to be in these tough moments and who your neighbors are going to be, who are going to be your not just allies, but accomplices in doing the right thing. And it's good to see that people have come together to help each other and they're not just laying down and letting things happen. And we've seen that recently with the government shutdown and the SNAP program and the need for food resources for people. And that, of course, is spurred by a need for affordable health care.
That's right.
So let's just jump right into the health care questions. And how would you make Illinois health care programs like Medicaid and elder care work more efficiently for families and seniors?
Yeah, and we're getting to a theme. Again, I think my answer is similar to what I've said before. It's one part funding, and this is a place where Illinois does place attention on low-income healthcare filling in for Medicaid now that the federal government has fallen back, filling in for rural providers and trying to keep as many providers open in rural areas that otherwise would have been closed. So we are putting funding streams against this, and we have to put more funding against it, especially as we can't trust the federal government to do it. And also, we need to take a really good hard look at the systems that exist and improve them and make sure that people are getting the services that they were promised. Because there's also stories about people, especially in and around the VA, of folks that have a health insurance program that is being administered by a public agency that are also waiting in lines for months or years to get the treatments that they need or getting the appointments that they need. And so we need to make sure that our public programs are being run well, that the legislation is enabling them to be innovative and thoughtful and creative and do a good job. I also, again, I do believe in a unionized workplace. I believe in staffing ratios and nursing ratios to make sure that there are enough people taking care of patients to raise the quality of healthcare services at the point of care. So there are things that we can do to improve the healthcare as it is delivered. And then there's also the broader question of our budget and our priorities and making sure that we're putting money against the services that we're promising to people. Because in a place like Illinois, I think healthcare, I think education, I think safety, and we'll get to this later, I'm sure, but the environment, they're core promises that a government makes to its people. And in a place like Illinois, that is a promise that we have to deliver.
And you mentioned rural hospitals. We've heard from other candidates that sometimes the rural areas in Illinois feel kind of dwarfed by Chicago, that Chicago gets a lot of the attention. And there are these rural areas that may be affected by the closing of hospitals and clinics. And what do you see as your role in the Senate as helping to prevent some of that from happening or provide or expanding? I don't know how it works in Illinois. I'm in Ohio, but you throw a rock, you hit a hospital, you hit a doctor, you hit a clinic. But there are rural areas where people are underserved. And I feel like these are not being addressed at the state level. How do you see your role in addressing that?
Yeah, and there's two parts to this. Like my individual role as a state senator, I'll take responsibility for the whole state, and not just for Democrats and not just for my district, but for the whole state. And so I care deeply about the rural areas, especially in downstate Southern Illinois. It's a place that I go to actually, as often as I can. Not in the last 2 years because we've been a little busy, but before that, my wife and I would go down to Carbondale or Marion or Ava and kind of drive down the river trail. So this is parts of the state that I personally am very invested in, and I find really lovely and beautiful, and the people that are there are great. And so we need legislators that are taking a statewide approach. We can't just send provincial legislators to Springfield who are going to kind of carve up the pie and bring their piece home. I know that as somebody who's going to represent a pretty privileged part of the state of Illinois, I have a big responsibility to make sure that we are contributing to places that don't have those privileges and those means, to make sure that the whole state is doing better because they elected Democrats. And that gets to my second point. One thing that I'm really passionate about is making Illinois a place where Democrats in Ohio or in Indiana or in Missouri can point to and tell their moderate and independent and even Republican friends, this is why we need Democrats. And I'll be the first to admit that that is not the case quite yet. However, on reproductive freedom, Illinois is a beacon, and I think folks understand that in the Midwest. But in other areas, it's a bit mixed on economic development, on quality of life. It's not super clear that life is obviously better in rural Illinois than it is in rural Indiana, and I think that is a failure of Democrats. I think we need to show that we are the party that governs not just for the suburbs and not just for the cities, but for everybody. And so if we can do that, there is a broader political argument that I think we can make that can help rebuild our coalition, not just in the Midwest, but in the country as people learn to trust Democrats again.
Great. Thank you for that answer. And I'm going to do some rapid fire questions, just a couple, and then we'll move on to education with Sianca. But do you think, yes or no, should Election Day be a national holiday?
Yes.
Okay. Federal or state control over education?
Oof. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I might have had a different answer, but state.
State. Okay, great. All right. Well, that moves us into education. Sianca, take it Take it from here.
Thank you, Ayana. So
Thank you, Patrick.
this is one of my favorite subjects, education. Um, so school districts in your area face large funding gaps and teacher shortages, especially in my area too in North Carolina. That's where I am as well. What specific policies would you back to attract and retain quality educators?
Yeah. So in Illinois, education is primarily funded by property taxes. And so there are some places in my district where education is extremely well funded and teachers are very well paid and life is fine. And then there's other places in my district where there is a significant gap and attraction and retention of teachers is difficult. They don't have the resources they need. This is something where Illinois, about 5 years ago, passed the evidence-based formula, which kicks in state money to support schools to get them to where the state believes they should be in terms of funding. And that is a ramp. So we have put hundreds of millions of dollars into this program each year, and then it keeps growing until we hit the correct level of funding. And that is something that I'll support. I think the property tax-based system is a legacy system set up from like 150 years ago. And there are some nice things about it, but more broadly, it is pretty unfair. And so anything we can do to bring equity into education and make sure that we are fully funding districts, especially those that are serving lower economic, disinvested communities, the better. Now, the other part of the equation in Illinois, at least, is our retirement system, our pension system, took a huge hit about 14 years ago. And that's because we were bad with money. And Illinois did a terrible job managing our finances for about 40 years. And politicians were stealing from public coffers and using pension money to fund pet projects and all this stuff. And they balanced that system on the backs of public workers. And so the pension system for teachers and for others really just isn't what it used to be. And that makes attracting teachers, retaining teachers, a lot harder relative to the private sector, frankly, relative to teaching in other states. And so that is something that we need to address and reform. And again, with all these things, we got to go find the money for it. But that is a priority of mine. That's something that I really care a lot about. Because as we know, teaching for the last 5 years has been extremely difficult and extremely important. And there's all sorts of technological reasons, and there's the pandemic, and there's all these things. But anything that we can do to support folks that are spending their days with our kids and literally training and educating and taking care of the next generation of Americans in this country just couldn't be more important. Education is something that my district is extremely proud of, and probably one of the top issues in my district. And it's something that Illinois, more broadly, has, in the historical sense, done a really great job on. And it's a place where we need to continue to invest in, to continue to prioritize, because that is what makes Illinois, the state that it is. That's what puts Illinois on the map.
That's awesome. I wish that was here in North Carolina. I got so many places I want to go to, and this country is not even funny on these policies that candidates that came on our platform to say. And so I gotta really clone myself really good so I can live in almost all the states.
Come visit us.
I will. So speaking of investment, so would you support more state investment in vocational and apprenticeship programs as alternatives to traditional 4-year degrees? Absolutely.
Yeah, apprenticeships, partnerships with community colleges to help run apprenticeships and to provide alternative degrees. There is a piece of legislation that is moving through Illinois to potentially allow community colleges to give 4-year degrees, which is interesting. It's going to be challenging. We want to make sure that we're protecting our flagship regional universities as well, but to give community colleges a larger role in providing lots of different kinds of educational opportunities for people that either choose college or don't choose college or choose to go into the trades is really important. And we've got this great infrastructure to do it already, so we should make use of that. This is something that labor unions are super helpful with in the Chicagoland area, and I think certainly statewide, is providing alternative paths into well-paying jobs that are stable, jobs where you can get health care, and jobs where you can get paid pretty well to do something that you know how to do and you're trained to do. And as we look ahead to an economy that is so uncertain and frankly a future that is a little bit scary, and we don't know what the future of a lot of our jobs is going to be, just given the way that technology and AI are changing things, that makes these skilled trade jobs that much more important and that much more attractive. And so when it comes to technicians and nurses and plumbers and crane operators, kind of going all the way down the line, there are all sorts of these trained, skilled professions that just don't necessarily require a 4-year liberal arts degree that, by the way, could set you back tens of thousands of dollars, either in your money or in loans. So I think we are taking a much more open-minded approach to how we train young people in this country. And I think that's really appropriate. I think that's great. And I also, here's another hot take, that I'm sure if any high school or teachers that are watching this are going to yell at me for. I think we can do more in high school to prepare people to be good citizens. I think there's a bit of the liberal arts education you get in college and university that we might want to put into high school to make sure that everybody's getting it, so that you can leave high school and kind of be ready to be a good citizen, to enter the workforce, to start a family, and then go get either your advanced degree or go get vocational training or apprenticeship or whatever it is. And take your next step without incurring just any astronomical amount of debt.
That's what's up, because in our local high school district, they're doing a 5-year plan for local businesses to be engaged with our high school children and get their feet wet in the workforce and give back to the community, get them more involved, so they won't be like a deer in headlights. Oh my God, be all scared like, oh my God, So that's awesome.
And it's great for local businesses too, because they know what they're going to hire.
Yes.
If you've got a provider that needs more nurses, they can come to the community college or the high school and say, hey, we know we're going to hire 35 nurses in the next however many years.
Yes.
Can you help us get them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for answering those questions. I'm going to turn it right back to Ayana, Miss Ayana with Public Safety. Take it away, Ayana.
And in the interest of time, Sianca, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to skip my section on public safety because I know Patrick is an environmentalist and he really needs to get the information about his environmental policies out to the people. If you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Skip me.
Okay.
Because we've already kind of touched on public safety a little bit, talking about ICE and the raids and all that. Please ask the questions about environment and infrastructure.
I sure will. Thank you. Yeah, because I got my goggles on. I got them on. Talking about environment, infrastructure, all that great stuff. So you bill yourself as an environmentalist. Your campaign is based around issues of sustainability. What specific policies would you champion to accelerate Illinois' clean energy transition while keeping utility costs affordable for working families?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And this is something that is just so dear to my heart. And I know that this year other issues have kind of crowded in, and we're having conversations about civil rights and about the federal government and about affordability and housing. And these are all really important. But environmentalism and sustainability is just so dear to my heart, and I think so dear to the future of our state and the future of our country. And we need to elect legislators for whom that is just an intrinsic value. Because let's be honest, our planet, like our climate, and our local environments, our ecologies, are totally out of whack. Biodiversity collapse is a real thing, and it's impacting communities all over the country, all over the world. The level of emissions is just way too high. We are now going to blow past the 1.5 degrees Celsius that we were hoping to target. So all of us need to get on board with correcting the trajectory of emissions and bringing more renewables on board as fast as possible for like my kids' lifetimes, so that my kids grow up in a place in Illinois that is recognizable to me and to my folks. And so specific policies, we have set out a really ambitious carbon zero agenda in Illinois that I'm really proud of, called the Clean and Energy Jobs Act. And so by the 2040s, we are targeting carbon zero emissions from electricity in Illinois. But legislators now need to get there And one of the ways that you do this is you build transmission wires, you invest in battery storage, you do all these things that make all of our renewable assets like solar or wind or nuclear in Illinois, that captures that electricity, hangs on to it, and deploys it at times when costs are rising. And that is going to bring down the utility rate costs for everybody. And it's also going to help us wean off of gas and diesel and all these other fossil fuel ways of generating electricity. I will say that for the last 2 years, I have been organizing and advocating against a coal plant. My leafy suburban community where Home Alone was filmed buys 80% of its power from coal plants in downstate Illinois and Kentucky. So Home Alone, those Christmas lights are powered by coal in the year of our Lord 2025. And I just find that totally unacceptable. And so we need to put the pressure on in Springfield to close these plants, to stop our municipal utilities and our investor-owned utilities from buying coal power in other states. And we've got to invest in the infrastructure to bring down the costs of renewables. And we need legislators that have that as a North Star, that really truly believe in that, because there are always going to be other priorities that come up. But the environment in the long term needs our help. I mean, the planet needs our help. And places like Illinois, New York, California, Minnesota, Massachusetts, kind of more progressive states that get this on the climate issue, we have to step up at a time when the federal government is letting us down. We've got to bring down emissions for the whole country.
Absolutely. As you can see, the sun is really appreciating it because I have my shades closed, I promise you, and the sun is so happy to hear this that it's like almost
She
blinding
wanted to hear the
me.
conversation. She wanted to join in.
Yeah, she wants to join in, so I'm trying to like maneuver, and she's like, "No, I love it." So,
Sianca, I do have a follow-up question about the emissions.
absolutely, absolutely.
How do you feel about, Patrick, recent changes to the emissions policy from the EPA?
Terrible. Terrible. Again, it's a theme. The federal government is stripping away all of the progress that I think Democrats and some Republicans, give them credit, have made in the last 10, 20 years. And things like removing regulations from coal plants so they can generate more dirty emissions and put more pollutants into the air is a huge step backwards. And it's completely unnecessary. And all it's going to do is help pad the pockets of billionaires who own fossil fuel assets at the expense of all of us. And look, we're all going to have to pay for things like environmental remediation and carbon capture and all these things that are going to pull carbon out of our atmosphere. That is going to be expensive, and my kids are going to pay for it throughout their lives. And so to step backwards in this way at this time, given everything that we know about the way that emissions and pollutants corrupt our environment and our atmosphere, is just unconscionable. And so again, states need to step up. We need to step in and replace those regulations. So you can say, yeah, at the federal level, we don't have any laws anymore, but in Illinois, we have laws. And in Illinois, we care about getting this done.
Great, thank you.
That's awesome. Did you want me to do a rapid fire real quick, Ayana?
Yeah, let's do some rapid fire.
All right, let's just I think it's time for Patrick to take his pulse because this is going to be very challenging. So, Mr. Patrick, go ahead and feel your pulse because we're going to check to see how fast your pulse is when you answer these rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Love it. Morning person or night owl?
Oh my God. I am a night owl constitutionally, but I have 2 little babies. And so I've woken up at like 5 for about 2 years.
Understandable. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. I've got a Portuguese water dog and we love them.
Oh, sweet or salty foods?
Ooh, salty.
Summer or winter?
Winter. Winter.
Book
It's
or book or movie?
book. Love a book. Never enough time for a book, but I love a book.
Okay. Pizza or tacos? Be careful.
I know it. But again, this is the land of deep dish. Although we do have probably the best tacos outside of Mexico. So I'm going to say pizza, but with an honorable mention to the amazing tacos in Evanston, Chicago.
Okay. Because I'm about to tell my Chicago people's like,
I understand. It's a controversial. Yes, that is a tough one.
Call or text?
I love it. You know what? Honest, I wish I could say call. I love a call, but right now I live off of text messages, unfortunately.
That's fine. Me too. And sometimes I don't even answer that either. They ask me kids. They're like, "You leave me on red all the time." I'm like, "I'm sorry." Okay, I'm giving right back to Ayana, Miss Ayana, on constituent services and representation. Take it away, Ayana.
Okay, Patrick. See, we got you sweating. You got to come out of your hat.
Oh, look at that.
So, Patrick, at the top of the hour, we mentioned that you're leading the Senate race in fundraising. How can Illinois reduce the influence of big money in state politics and make campaigns more accessible for grassroots candidates such as yourself?
I can't wait to work on this in Springfield. Campaign finance in this country and campaign finance in Illinois is broken. And we need to find ways to reduce the maximum amount of contributions across the board. We need to reduce corporate influence in elections. I mean, corporations can't just write you $73,000 checks and then expect not to have any influence over our legislators. We need to do all of these things, and it's something that I absolutely want to work on. Illinois is behind the curve on issues like this, and it's a real problem. And so, yes, absolutely. What was the second part of your question?
How can Illinois reduce the influence? Like, what statutory changes do you think Illinois can make to its election laws to limit? I know that the big Supreme Court case, Citizens United, says, okay, just flood the elections with money. How can Illinois, how can it statutorily limit so that all candidates have the opportunity to run for office so they won't be barred because they don't have enough money, they don't have, I know in some instances you have to have like a certain amount of signatures to get on the ballot. What reforms do you see so that more people can run for office and then more voters will have more options to choose from when they go to a primary?
Absolutely. So 4 things off the top of my mind real quick. In New York City, we just saw the success of public funding. So Zoran had a really generous match from New York City that allowed him to communicate with voters really effectively. And that is one model that allows folks from different backgrounds to get involved in politics, raise small dollar donations that demonstrates support from a lot of individuals without necessarily them being extremely wealthy or billionaires or corporations, while still allowing his campaign to make an impact and communicate with folks. So public funding is really interesting. I know that Seattle has a public voucher program where everybody kind of gets like democracy bucks, and that those bucks can be spent on electioneering. I think that's really interesting. So anything that we can do to give campaigns for all candidates from all backgrounds the resources to compete is really good and really important. I support public access laws around kind of television and media. I also think one thing that I'm jealous of in Washington, they have a very interesting, very generous vote by mail scheme where everybody gets a ballot alongside pieces of literature for each candidate on the ballot in the mail like 6 weeks before the election. And so you can tune out of the election. You can not pay any attention. You can receive this mail, get information about the candidates. You can sit down, have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea if that's your jam, read, and then make your informed decision. And all the candidates are on the same playing field. If you can make a piece of literature, you can get in that piece of mail. And I love that. I think that's great because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of ways that candidates raise and spend money that is kind of BS. And there is a marginal utility to spending political dollars. So it's really important to me that I raise enough money to get my message and to get my, my approach to voters in this district. But past a certain level, I can't spend it. I mean, it's just not helpful. Once people know who I am and they've heard me speak and they get what I'm about, that's all I need. That's all I want.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. We have just a few minutes left, and I'm going to send it back to Sianca to ask a closing question.
All righty. I know what sets you apart from other candidates because I cannot stop staring at your placards. It looked like license plates behind you, like the way I love it. Like I've never seen it decorated like that. That's what it reminded me of. So I know that. Yeah, I love that. So What
Thank you.
sets you apart from the other candidates running in your primary, and how can people support you in this campaign?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think right now, Democrats, as we kind of talked about earlier in the hour, are really wanting something new. They are setting higher expectations for our elected officials, for our party leadership, and for our spokespeople. They want, frankly, younger, although it doesn't have to be an age. I think young in mindset is good enough. But they want younger candidates who are going to take bold stances, who are going to stand up to this administration and this kind of current generation of Republicans, and then also fight for the values and the policies that we believe in. Things like, healthcare, Medicare for all, equitable education, unionization across our economy and across our industries. And they want to support bold new generation of leaders who can communicate anywhere, who can speak in front of a crowd and speak in a living room and go on TikTok Live and record a podcast and be authentic, and that you can have kind of long-ranging conversations about anything with, because that's where their heart and their values are. So that is what I think Democrats are looking for this coming year. And let's be clear, next year we are going to elect a whole new generation of Democrats. People who win the primaries next year will be the voices and the faces of the party that are going to carry us into the 2026 midterms and on to the 28 presidential elections. So we need to elevate and elect bold progressive leaders in order to win these fights. And I think that is something that sets me apart a little bit from my competition. I come to this with a background in business and in government and in organizing and in environmentalism. I am deeply rooted across my district in my communities, and I care deeply about each of the communities. And I'm a bold Democrat. I'm an organizing Democrat. And I think that sets me apart. And if you would like to support my campaign, if you enjoyed this hour or liked what I had to say, or just like my license plate placards, I would love your support, and I'm accepting donations at hanleyforillinois.com. Every dollar, every few bucks really does go a long way in helping me communicate my message and introduce me to voters across this district. This is the first time I've ever run for office, and so nobody really knows who I am outside of social media and the community work that I've done. And so me getting into the mailboxes, onto the phones, onto the TVs, and at the doors of all of our voters is really, really important. So thank you so much for having me on. And thank all of you for listening and hopefully for your support.
That is, you know what?
Sianca, remember that we're nonpartisan
now. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, dang, goodness.
Patrick,
All right.
Patrick, let us know where people can find you on social media. I know that if you guys are in the chat, please follow Patrick on his TikTok page. But where else can the people find you?
Please do. So you can find me on TikTok here. You can find me on Instagram at Patrick Rock Hanley. I made it difficult for all of you, all because my middle name is French. I'm sorry about that. It's Patrick, ROCQUE HANLEY. But if you just kind of Google Patrick Hanley, I should pop up. You can find me on Facebook at Hanley for Illinois. And then my website, again, is hanleyforillinois.com. And if you want to stay tuned with the campaign, you can sign up for a newsletter. You can chip in a few bucks. And if you're in Evanston, or if you're in Skokie or Wilmette or Glenview, come down to the office. I'm there right now. It's on Central Street across from Hardigan's Ice Cream Shop. So any locals, you'll know exactly where it is. Come say hi.
All right. And once again, that's hanleyforillinois.com. And Patrick, we want to thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your platform and commitment to a better Illinois, one where every citizen feels supported and listened to. And we really do appreciate you taking the time to explain your platform and just how you'll try to build a better Democratic Party. Audience, if you are not following Patrick, get on that job right now. And Patrick, and others in the audience, if you would like to see more candidates from OVC, we're having another town hall tonight featuring Layla Staton, who's running for the Iowa House of Representatives. That will be tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Join us. Again, we'll be featuring Layla Staton, who is running for Iowa's House District 54, and that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard time. We hope you will join us. Patrick, thank you again for being here with us and for taking the heat. And
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for hosting the platform. Thanks for all that you're doing. I honestly think that you're doing such a public service to folks on TikTok and on social media and everywhere. And so thank you for giving us a chance to have this conversation and to introduce me to a few more folks. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. And thank you to the people who kindly showed up today and supported our TikTok Live. Remember, Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity like Patrick Hanley, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Again, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.